That movie sucked.
I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.
Welcome to Of the Eldest Gods, where we discuss Rick Riordan's role as our godly parent.
I'm Raye from Cabin 12.
Yeah?
Yeah?
I just totally messed myself. And I'm Charlie from Cabin 13. I'm sorry, I just my brain just left the building for a second. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not here. We're actually going to talk about Rick Riordan books today.
Wow.
What is that?
That seems so strange.
It's only taken us 4-5 episodes at this point.
Plus bonus.
Yeah, it's fine. We're all good here. Raye, you read some books.
I did. You could even say that I read The Lightning Thief and The Sea of Monsters.
You had to catch up with the pod. It's fine. It's fine. How are you feeling about our dear boy Percy at this point?
Love him with all of my heart and soul. Okay, you would have. I don't have a lot of notes, but whenever I had something where I was like, I want to talk about that, I put it down. You want to go over my Percy thoughts? Because
yes,
I have a lot of thoughts about Perseus Jackson, my boy and son, kid. This boy. Okay. So, to start off, I haven't read these books in a few years, and I guess that I've matured since last time I read them, because I got some vibes that I have never really, that I guess I definitely noticed before, but didn't really process in the way that I'm processing now. These books are kind of the world is gritty. The world sucks. It
does. I'm sorry, every time I read these books, I'm just hearing I'm Just a Kid by Simple Plan playing in the background.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that is the vibe of this Percy Jackson at this moment.
Yeah. Rick Riordan's style, especially in this first series, is very Americana, but very the underbelly of America kind of stuff a lot of the time. It's in the first book,
Yeah.
on 2 separate occasions, Percy kills a business owner and then robs their cash register. They were trying to kill him first, in his defense.
Okay.
So, that's his right.
That was Medusa and Krusty, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Oh my goodness. I don't know how...
It's fucked up.
Yeah, it is.
It feels weird that he does that.
Okay, Raye. I don't know how caught up on, this podcast in particular you are.
Not very. Sorry, guys.
You're totally valid. You shouldn't have to listen to a podcast that you're on. I just, since Krusty is now on my mind, because you mentioned that, I just want to bring something to your attention. In the original mythology, he is just a dude. He is a demigod, son of Poseidon. Percy just straight up murdered his brother.
Oh!
He's not even a monster.
Why was he there? Is there a reason he would be immortal? No, just some guy?
There is no fucking reason. In actual mythology, okay, on the Rick Riordan wikis, it says he is a quote-unquote giant. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so confused by it. There's a lot of weird shit that's just in there, and I'm are you sure, Rick?
Yeah, well, okay. So on the one hand, obviously, he's still getting his footing as far as this world and this mythology that he's building from the ground up almost. There's a lot of things where it's oh, this seems fun, and then you're oh, I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm not gonna worry about it because I already wrote it. On the other hand, I was legitimately surprised to see how well, like, the series has clearly been planned out from book 1. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, in these first 2 books, there's foreshadowing for the end of the series. Like,
there is. I love it.
Not
It's so
to
good.
spoil for you guys, I'm gonna keep that vague, but
Well,
I was just very impressed.
you don't understand how hard it is when I start reading like a first chapter of one of these books, and I'm like, this foreshadows like the end of this book. Like, I can't talk about that because I'm trying to be spoiler free, but I can talk about it in this episode. Like, my goodness, when we were starting like the first fucking episode, and it's like, Percy learns about, like, Kronos and that whole story, and I'm like,
yeah.
Dang, Rick,
for
you foreshadowed everything.
That's in my notes
foreshadowing.
that it was that it was cool that, like, the idea of Titans and Kronos is in chapter fucking 1. Like, just to seed that in for you, you know.
Exactly. It's like, you think, like, Voldemort had a plan? No, not Rick fucking Riordan had plans. He knew what he was doing.
So to
It's
sort of
good.
get back to Percy, I've always known that Percy was my little meow meow, as they say, as I say. I don't think you even do that meme, and it's probably, like, gonna be even more of a dead meme by the time this episode comes out, but...
The only people who I know who say that are you and Ted. I just want you to know that.
It's, another thing that they say is terminally online. Yeah.
Oh, I say that. That's fine.
Anyways, so Percy is one of those protagonists who you sympathize with because, like, legitimately so much shit happens to them all the time. And he is just a little guy. He's going through it.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, so Rick Riordan's world is very harsh, and Percy is 12.
Yeah! How do you deal with that kind of shit? My god.
Thing number 1, Percy at one point describes his life as short and miserable. Son, you are 12. He said something about my short, miserable life, and I was like, boy.
Listen, he's an emo middle schooler.
Well, I gotta kick out a cat and close my door. Hold up.
Oh my goodness.
Get out of
I'm gonna have to keep this in again, otherwise Taylor will riot. Oh my goodness. I'm just sitting here in my Camp Half-Blood Hades cabin shirt with a skeletal horse.
Oh, good. Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
That's so fun. Okay.
We were
so
talking about something.
I was talking about Perseus Jackson and his life. Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay.
He's an emo, like, middle schooler, and he is a skater boy. A confirmed skater boy.
Yeah, because he wanted to go to the skate shop. He just wanted a cool skateboard. Okay. So, I don't know that I would call Percy emo. He might have, like, no, his hair's curly. He doesn't have the emo swoopy boy hair. I could imagine him with it, though. But, Percy is definitely a delinquent, but, okay, every time that he's talking to a stranger or, like, a new adult, Percy defaults to polite. And it's because he's a kid who's had to deal with a lot of inconsistent, short-tempered adults in his life.
Yeah.
And so when he doesn't know what's up, he is like, oh, yes, sir. Like, immediately. Like, that is his first instinct. And then, when they're dicks and they snark to him, he snarks back. People push him to it. He is a nice boy. He is a nice boy who has never gotten a break in his fucking life.
I love these takes.
Like, oh my goodness. He has so much mental trauma. Like, holy crap. People have been shitting on this kid his entire life. It's so fucked up. Sorry, I'm, like, swearing a lot. I don't know where this energy is coming from. But
we are an explicit podcast.
I know.
We
just,
don't
like,
care.
This is not normally how it is. But anyways, he's just a little guy. He is so small. I will hold him.
Maybe I shouldn't have started with Percy.
Yeah.
You have so much energy.
Okay. So I was, like, enjoying the first book, you know, having a good time. The first time that I, like, felt a strong emotion when I was, like deeply invested in it again, the way that I had been, like, the first time that I read it, was, on the St. Louis Arch when the Chimera is there and blowing shit up or whatever. Percy's first thought is, if I die, maybe it will leave these other people alone. Holy shit. And he's thinking that, like, if I wasn't such a shitty hero, this wouldn't be. And I'm like, oh my god, the self-depreciation and the heroism are heartbreaking. It is, okay.
Yeah.
And then that same part of the book, after he falls and the Nereid, the Poseidon's messenger, talks,
Nereid, yeah.
and she calls him Brave One, and Percy doesn't believe it. I'm going to start crying. He is so little. He
is. Raye, I want to hug you, and you're too far away.
I love Percy Jackson so much. I love a self-sacrificial protagonist. That's my favorite character archetype, honestly.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry you're falling so hard in love with him again.
When you read this and you're like a teen or whatever, it does not register how small a 12-year-old is. Like, holy crap. That's...
Yeah.
Those are children. Those are children.
Those are children, yeah.
And apparently that's old enough for monsters to start finding you a credible threat, enough that they'll start hunting you down at around 12? Like, the implications...
I mean, that's when my memory started.
Like, I'm telling you, the world is harsh, but, like, the fact that there's just monsters out there hunting 12-year-olds to death, it's messed up, bro. Like, they don't all make it. Holy crap!
Yeah, like, think about how many, people are at Camp Half-Blood, how old they all are. They are all children, except for Luke. Luke is the only old person, and he is 19. That's a young adult.
Yeah.
He's still younger than us.
Yeah, that's still a kid. You know, that's someone without a fully developed brain, which is why he makes such bad choices.
God, imagine Luke with a fully developed brain.
Percy Jackson is literally tragic. Also, he is so ready to kill and maim and murder. His body is so small, but it's so full of rage. Like, the first monster he runs into, Mrs. Dodds, as she may be called, he slices the shit out of her. She dies. Like, holy crap. Good job. Like, yeah. Like, completely instinctually. Like, I know that he's naturally good at swordplay, but also, he's just ready to kill. Later in...
I mean, what the fuck would you do if there was just, like, a fucking monster?
I would not slash them with the sword. I would drop the sword in panic and, maybe freeze and maybe run away. I would be immediately killed. I may have ADHD, but I'm not a half-blood.
I would slash and hack. I would slash and hack.
I'm glad.
Like, full on. I'd be like, you were my fucking math teacher. Get the
later
fuck out.
In the book, they get, like, accosted by some teens in LA, and Percy slashes the boy, and it's like, son, I know it doesn't hurt him, but you can't just go slashing people automatically. Okay. At that point, he's probably traumatized, that's and terrifying. Like, that's the first reaction to being accosted, and like, I mean, for a demigod, it probably should be, but also, Percy, that's just some guy. You can't just go slashing dudes.
Percy, I think that's attempted assault.
Like, attempted murder. Yeah, like, literally. Attempted murder.
Maybe don't do that, Percy. God, you're already on the run.
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't we
move
from the Percy train? Unless you have, like, a million more thoughts about him.
I know I had something that I wanted
to
drop, thoughts. And I can't remember what it was. Oh, I was gonna say that most of the Greek heroes of legend are also full of rage and ready to kill at a moment's notice. So, like... Yeah,
you are correct.
He's part of a long legacy.
You are correct.
Which, Speaking of which, I wrote that note, like, earlier in my, in the read-through of Lightning Thief. At the end of Lightning Thief, when he's saying, like, any of the heroes of legend would have taken the Medusa head and killed Gabe themselves. It's like, yeah, you're right. So, like, as much as I said that, at the same time, boy has restraint, huh? Good for him.
Yeah, he does. He does. Oh my goodness, yeah. It's fine. He's learning, okay? He's a good boy. Mm-hmm. He was taught well by Sally.
I have a lot of feelings about him, and, like, how none of this has been good for his mental health either, because, like,
God.
I don't know, the fact that the life expectancy of a half-blood is, like, minuscule is heartbreaking also. And that's, like, a legitimate concern for all of them, but especially for Percy. He doesn't know if he's gonna live to be 16. That is a constant thing that he is aware of, that he could die anytime, that it's entirely plausible, and that everyone will remind him that he might not reach 16. Every time they talk about whatever the overarching prophecy is, it's like, if you live to be 16.
You know, I guess that means that, like, half-bloods, they can, I don't know, they think about, like, their life expectancy, I guess. Like, they grapple with, like, the idea that, like, you know, I could die at any moment. Okay. Like,
yeah.
These children understand that fact.
Yeah, because things
every
are
day.
Actively hunting them to kill them. Like, that is so fucking scary. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
I would also like to mention that when they go on a quest, they are given a quest actively by the camp and Chiron to travel from one coast of America to the other.
Yeah, I know it's coming.
They are 12. They give them $100 American dollars. 100. What is the plan?
Okay. I think Chiron expected them to rob a bank on the way.
I mean, they sort of did. They robbed 2 cash registers. I don't.
He fully expected them to just rob a bank.
$100? Okay, like, for a second, when I read that, I tried to rationalize it, like, well, how much money are you gonna give 12-year-olds? And then I was like, they have to travel across the entire country and they're 12! If you're trusting them to travel the entire country, you can trust them with, like, $1,000. I don't...
Okay. Personally, I would have also bought them, like, maybe cross-country train tickets.
Okay.
And been like, hey, this is where
we don't
all
know.
You need to do is just ride the train this way. I'm gonna give you money. Also,
where the
I'm
Greyhound was supposed to stop off. Maybe that was supposed to take the most of the way. Okay.
We don't know.
So maybe the Greyhound is supposed to be the whole trip. I mean, I don't know if there are Greyhounds that do that. I don't actually.
I feel like
it was definitely supposed to get them farther than they did.
I don't know these things. Supposed to get them farther than, like, 5 minutes away. My goodness. Yeah, I don't know. Chiron is, like, actually bad.
Okay. But, oh my goodness. I'm just thinking about, once again, back to Percy and how sad I am about him. And the fact that he's never had a good teacher in his life until Chiron,
that's sad.
Like, and he tells us this, that, like, the only test that he bothers studying for is Chiron's because he doesn't want to disappoint the only teacher who ever believed in him. You have to encourage kids. You cannot give up on kids. No matter what, you have to tell kids that you believe in them. Oh, that also breaks my heart. Which, like, kind of goes to show ya, like, that Rick, like, actually does understand what it's like to be a kid in that kind of situation, because that's what his kids have probably gone through. Yeah. Like, with ADHD, like, people constantly discouraging you, people who don't believe in you, people who give up on you, you know? And when teachers do that, it's not good.
Well, yeah, it's not only Rick was a teacher, in fact, and his son also had ADHD and dyslexia. So, like, that's why. Yeah, he knows both sides of it. Like, yeah. So do we want to like keep going on like talking about characters, or do you just have like more general thoughts?
We can talk about some characters probably. I want to talk about Sally a little bit.
Yeah. Sally is Percy's actual godly parent. Like, fuck Poseidon fully, but like, don't, because Sally did it, and look what she got. I mean, she got Percy, but like, that's the only good thing that she got from it.
Poseidon does say that Sally wouldn't... Oh, no, Poseidon doesn't say it. Sally says that he offered to pay for everything and give her everything she could ever desire, but she wanted to build a life on her own. That's the only way it would mean something.
Yeah, because she's a strong need no fucking man. Woman. She don't need him.
Need no god. God. Oh, Poseidon. So... the vibes on Sally are so good. We actually get so little of Sally in these books, but she makes such a strong impression. And I feel like a lot of that is me remembering how I felt the first time I read it, because when you're a kid and reading this, you're like, well, at least I was like, you like project your mom vibes onto it, you know? You just like, well, me specifically,
yeah.
Sally, I always just imagined as like my mom. Like, she also has long brown hair and like a very soft disposition, and yeah. So it was very easy to like transfer that onto Sally, and I'm like, yeah, she's literally the best woman who's ever lived. Like, you know, my mom. She is.
Sally is wonderful. She also has a tragic backstory. Okay, I have thoughts. I have fucking thoughts. Because, listen, her parents died in a plane crash. It's just my crackpot theory that, like, what if Zeus knew that somehow she was going to be the mother of the possible prophecy child and was trying to kill her, but didn't know she wasn't on the plane? Just saying.
You never know?
I don't know. I have thoughts about why the fuck her parents died in a plane crash, and I'm like, Zeus, you motherfucker.
Oof.
It's definitely Zeus's fault.
Yeah. What is the deal there? Oof. It is.
Like, that's such a throwaway line, and we never get details on it, and I'm just like, why didn't Sally just have, like, a normal fucking family? Like, why does she have such a tragic backstory and we don't go into it? I'm sorry.
I think it's just for vibes, honestly, if I was to say, like, why I think Rick...
I mean,
like,
yeah. It does help.
I feel like there is, like, a cultural perception of, like, someone who overcomes, like, a personal tragedy at a young age and becomes a kind person despite that. And, like, that's a narrative that hits for people. That it garners an automatic feeling of, like, what a good person she is. I don't know that that's fair, necessarily.
Yeah.
But I think that that's probably where that comes from. But also, why you gotta do her like that?
Rick, I want to know what is up with this backstory. Rick, give us more information. Give me the Sally prequel book that no one asked for except me. Oh my goodness. But Sally is amazing. Just wonderful. Perfect, beautiful, no notes. Poseidon. Fuck,
got some notes.
So hard. Like, I'm sorry, Rick tries to make him to be like, you know, he's just like this chill, like, bro dude. Like, yeah, he's a surfer guy. Probably, like, is a fisherman as well. And I'm just like, bro, he's like the worst guy in mythology.
Oh, like, no.
Literally? Okay, you know how Zeus got that bad rap?
Oh, no.
Poseidon is worse. Because Zeus is just like, he's like, yeah, I'm the fuckboy. All the ladies love me. And Poseidon's just like,
oof.
Yeah, I fuck them. I don't care if they like it. That's kind of the vibe.
Don't like that.
That's kind of the vibe of Poseidon. Yeah. No, it's not great. It's not great.
Very uncomfortable.
I hate Poseidon. I hate him a lot.
In the narrative of the Percy Jackson series, though, okay,
he's still a deadbeat dad,
but
though.
Also, like, there's the whole thing that he's like not allowed to talk to them. But
all gods are deadbeat parents.
Yes, they are.
All gods.
Yes, they are. I wonder if that's a theme of perhaps the series.
Seriously, I just want to know, like, what's the reason? Why are they such deadbeat parents? Seriously. So they could have daddy issues? Is that it? And mommy issues, I guess.
Again, when Percy meets the Nereid, she tells Percy that Poseidon trusts him and believes in him, but the way that Percy has been viewing his quest up until that point is that he's a pawn and he's being used. And that is definitely true, and that's how Chiron explained it to him. But to that non-cynical take that it's Poseidon asking for his help because he believes that he can do it. It's something that Percy can't believe.
Poseidon has no other choice, though.
It's like they say, it is a very risky gamble on Percy. Like that he can stop this war because it made it worse when he claimed him. But Percy can't accept that non-cynical view. Like, even if it is half the truth, it's not something that fits with his worldview. As much as he wants Poseidon to be proud of him, he thinks that believing that is for suckers, that that would make him weaker somehow if he let himself believe that. Sorry, I'm still talking about Percy. We were supposed to do a whole episode on Percy later, and I'm already blowing my whole thing right now.
He's got a lot of
as
daddy
he deserves to.
It's fine.
It's fine. Holy crap.
It's fine.
So, speaking of other characters, Grover's pretty cool, huh?
Grover is adorable. Good. This is the character that Rick was like, you know what? I need an environmentalist narrative. And this is the character I'm gonna have, just talk about that. Seriously, when you read these books, I'm listening to a lot of Percy Jackson podcasts at the moment. So, it's just, a lot of the books actually have this narrative going on, the environmentalism. But, Grover is there to, push that forward, especially with the whole Pan thing and satyrs. I also just... coming from a mythology thing, I think it's very interesting that Rick was like, you know what I'm gonna use as, the creature that helps half-bloods get to, the safe place? Satyrs. Why satyrs? It's not like they're a thing about protection or anything. Their whole thing is that they fuck a lot. That is the satyr thing, is that they, literally... They chill out, they play music,
I never
they
really
dance,
thought about
they
that.
fuck.
That has nothing to do with their mythological roots. Huh.
It's nothing. Why, Rick? Why did you just say that?
I don't know. But maybe he wanted to do something in the narrative with satyrs because of the environmentalism angle, and then he was like, okay, I'll just, seed them into my world building.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's interesting.
I mean, obviously Rick was like, you know what? I gotta, sanitize all these myths and make them a lot less sexual. So, you know what, satyrs? Let's just take out all of that shit and make them, nice little
just nature
protector
dudes.
Guys. You know what? Just cool, chill nature guys. They're chill. It's fine. Yeah, I don't know. I just have thoughts and feelings about, Rick. Also, about the whole, sanitizing mythology thing. This isn't about characters, but it kind of is. Medusa? I want to hear your thoughts about the Medusa chapter, and if you have any
I feel
thoughts.
like this is a test. Am I woke enough?
Are you woke enough for this?
I don't know if I'm woke enough for this talk. Because it is something that you have to think about, that Rick specifically makes her Middle Eastern and gives her full body coverings, and I mean, it makes sense solely from a practical point of view to have a way for her to be realistically covered.
Why is all of her covered? Honestly, why not just have it be her head covering? And I don't know. People can just wear scarves on their heads, and it doesn't have to be a religious thing. To have it be very, Middle Eastern,
Yeah, I
don't know.
It's not something
so
that
weird.
I feel educated enough to make an actual call on, but it definitely had,
It didn't age well.
It was definitely definitely something I thought about while reading, that it was uncomfortable. I was more uncomfortable when it started, honestly.
Even her voice, too.
She has an accent.
Right? There was something about, like...
So, like...
Yeah.
So, and she was specifically mentioned as having brown skin. Like, she was a Middle Eastern person in this, which, like, doesn't make really...
Yeah, I don't know, it's very
follow,
interesting.
Like, mythology. I mean...
It's just, why is she Middle Eastern coded? It's just... It's very weird.
And I think it's for the practicality of having her covered.
Raye, this is just...
But
it's not an easy thing to, like,
because
talk about.
I don't feel very educated
I can
on,
understand.
like, how those optics work out. You know, I would have to ask someone who's actually from a culture.
Yeah.
That...
just knowing that you, like, had thoughts and feelings is good enough. Like, to be like, yeah, it wasn't a good look. That shouldn't have been done. Also the fact that the chapter gets, I don't know, it kind of feels victim blamey because she's just Poseidon's girlfriend.
The conversation that he and Annabeth have about the situation later is weird too, because Percy's like, well, your mom turned her into a monster, and she's like, it was your dad's fault for meeting with her in my mom's temple, and it's like, that's still what your mom did. Like, I mean, if you're mad that Poseidon snuck a girl into your temple, then don't turn the girl into a monster. That's fucked up. Like, if that's the myth that we're going with for...
Yeah, I believe, God, there's a lot of, like, people who have thoughts and feelings about Medusa and everything. Guys, plain and simple, she was raped by Poseidon. That's what happened. And then Athena was like, hey, you did it in my temple.
So,
fuck
like,
you're a monster
they're
now.
both pieces of shit.
That is plain and simple what happened. They're both pieces of shit in that story. Athena, a lot of the time in, like, the actual mythology, is kind of not great. She's kind of, the man's goddess, as I've heard people call her. Like, I don't know, you have, like, the female war goddess, and she kind of, like, goes with the patriarchy a lot of the time. It's not great. Yeah.
It does make sense to me that Rick characterizes all of the gods, sanitizes all of the gods' characterizations to make them palatable for a modern audience. Like, you sort of have to. They're irredeemable in actual mythology.
You know, I also want to know why Rick was like, you know what? Forget the whole Athena doesn't have any kids and is a virgin thing. She has kids now. I don't care. Like, that's just such a weird choice, Rick. You just wanted the nerds. The literal nerd kids. You couldn't have a nerd cabin without Athena having kids.
I do have a thought.
That was it.
Which is, that is explained later in the books. When Rick started writing, do you think he had already come up with that explanation? Or do you think he was just like, oh yeah, Athena's children, without, like, thinking about how she's a maiden goddess?
Honestly, he might have already thought about it.
I was thinking so, too.
I just think the whole reason he goes with, like, oh yeah, Percy is the son of Poseidon is, like, you know what? All the main heroes, like, all the cool guys, they're always sons of Zeus. I'm gonna make mine
that makes
son
sense
of Poseidon.
to me.
Cool, let's do that. And then he's like, you know what? I need, like, a bestie / love interest kind of person, you know, like, they're gonna be kind of opposites of each other. You know what? Poseidon and Athena don't get along. And that's just my theory on why he's like, you know what? Annabeth, gonna be a daughter of Athena. That's why. Also, I guess you need, like, the smart one in the group. Of course. There's always a smart one in the group.
It wasn't gonna be Grover.
It wasn't gonna be Percy.
Those two, dumbass brigade.
God. I mean, it's not like Grover is dumb. Grover is smart. He's just like, he could have been like, you know what? You know who's gonna be the smart one? It's gonna be Grover.
I'm not saying that Grover is dumb. I'm saying that he's a little bit of a dumbass.
Yeah. I mean, he could have made Grover the smart one. He's like the nerdy kid.
He could have been, but it doesn't...
He could have been, but instead he's the weird kid.
For these first books, Rick is playing on stereotypes a lot, especially with, like, the mythology stuff, because that's, like, the point, you know, it's like, okay, so these are children of this person, and so logically they will be like this, you know, that kind of thing. And so, it does, by that logic, it doesn't really follow that a satyr would be like the math guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be so funny, though. The math guy. Grover. Also, okay, I mean, we don't get a whole lot of names, but, like, do you love the names and how, like, Rick chooses them and, like, makes little puns sometimes?
Do you mean,
'Cause
like...
he does that with some of the half-blood
Okay,
names.
I don't know the mythology as well as you do, so I'm not really catching them.
Well, I mean, Percy Annabeth, not really. I mean, Annabeth technically has Athena's name in her name, if you know that. That is a cute little fun fact. But, okay, Grover Underwood. Think about it for 2 seconds. Grove Underwood.
I see, yeah.
Like, his name is just foresty.
And, like,
that's, like, great.
I guess I always noticed, like, that Underwood is, like, yeah, it feels like a satyr name, but I didn't think about Grover before.
Yeah, like, we got Selena Beauregard. Beauregard. Her name means, like,
okay,
beautiful to look at. We got, okay, I've heard people say that this is a reach, but I like noting that Charles Beckendorf, Hephaestus, is the god of fire.
Oh.
Char.
I don't think
it's a reach. I think
it's a little bit of a
funny.
reach.
I think it's funny.
I'm happy for you.
I'm great at this. This is my favorite game. I'm gonna keep playing it as we keep getting more characters. The Stoll Brothers.
They're also named after, like, a real guy.
Percy literally mentions that. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, he does.
But Percy
and they're just
literally
like,
mentions
what?
it. He's like, that's funny.
It's
they
really
don't
funny.
get it. There's just a lot of people like that who have, like, little pun names. And just, it gets even more ridiculous
I
as some of the
didn't
books
really
go
notice
on.
it last time that I read, so that's exciting. You'll have to point them out to me because I probably still won't notice them.
Yeah. Every time it comes up, I will. It's great. Yeah. I thought I had something else. Let's...
Yeah, I was about to say, so Annabeth.
Annabeth, she's got some...
She sure does.
baggage.
Ooh, that dad, huh?
We get some more context for her family in the next book, but at this moment, from these first 2 books, all we know is that her family kind of sucks ass.
So at the end of the first book, she goes home for the summer for, like, the first time in, like, how many years? 6? I mean, not the summer, the opposite of the summer, home for the school year.
Something like, yeah, like, in the past, like, couple years,
So, and she spends her whole school year there, and then comes and picks Percy up at the beginning of the summer in Sea of Monsters. So, presumably, they're in the process of mending that relationship.
Yeah. Like, maybe they've
so
gotten
far
better
we've only
now?
seen Annabeth's perspective of the whole situation, which is not a good look for the man himself. Like, if your daughter feels that way, that you never wanted her, like, that is a problem, and you have to fix that. Like, holy crap.
Yeah. I hope they're going to family therapy now that Annabeth is back home. I hope that is a thing, if they know that it exists. But, like, okay, so... Taylor and I were, like, talking about it a while back, and how, like, how old she was and how old her little brothers were, and how, like, that may have affected some of the family dynamic that was going on. So when she was 7, I think they were, like, babies.
Yeah, they would have been recently born, probably.
Maybe
that makes sense.
So maybe that might have been part of why the mom was, like, so protective of them and trying to, like, I don't know, shelter them away from Annabeth and the monster situation going on. I'm not gonna say that she's a good stepmom in any way, but it's just like, okay, you gotta take some of that into account.
I almost hate to bring this up, but Annabeth was 7 and younger, like, when all of this was going on, and so it might not be that people, that any of them, like, said very much of this stuff to her out loud, and that like, but, you know, clearly she's picking up on legitimate feelings from them, but it might have just been, like, looks or, like, whispers, you know, that she is, like, extrapolating. Yeah, if the vibes are off, you know? A kid is going to pick them up and is going to feel like shit if the vibes are, like, that bad. And I'm not saying that it's her fault. Honestly, it is still their fault, but they, like, it might not have been as bad as we sort of get the impression that it was from what she says. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot going on.
It's a very complicated situation.
I don't think that Annabeth was Yeah, I don't think that Annabeth was wrong. I side with Annabeth, like, through and through. But, like, maybe they didn't actually, like, say, oh my god, you're terrible, like, you're the worst, why are you endangering my family? Maybe it was, like, something hush-hush behind closed doors that they didn't talk about. But, like, you know who's got, like, the best judge of, like, character and all that shit, who can tell the vibes? It's always the kids.
Yeah.
Kids can always tell. They can tell if they're feeling, like, othered and all that shit. Yeah. I don't know. And, like, she's a smart fucking kid. She was probably like,
I gots to get out of here.
They think I'm a danger. I need to leave. Get me out of this situation.
So, looking at gender in these books is a complex kind of thing, but, like, I do feel like that there is a skew towards male characters. Yeah, almost definitely. But it is cool that Annabeth is on the main team and that she is seen as very capable physically and mentally. She is a very strong female character, as they say, who is well-rounded.
You need to have a girl in the trio. Like, it's kind of how it works.
But you could have done it a lot worse than it was done here. So, but what I do notice is that Annabeth specifically cries a lot, which feels very gendered, uncomfortably so. And I'm not, and my first instinct was, well, maybe she shouldn't be written as crying so much, like, but then I thought about it, and it's like, all of the situations in which she does are situations in which it makes complete sense to cry. I think that Percy needs to cry more.
Okay. Like, I want to be like, oh my god, he's a boy. Of course he's, like, toxic masculinity. No, Sally would teach him it's okay to cry. I believe in Sally to teach
I
Percy
feel like
that it's okay
we hear
to
about
cry.
Percy, like, holding back tears and stuff, though, sometimes. Like, I don't think that Percy is comfortable openly crying. And that probably does make sense, but also, yeah, I'm not sure if I want to say that the writing is, like, necessarily sexist, or if it's just perpetuating something because, and like testosterone does make you not cry as much. Like, that's legitimately a thing. But also, boys do cry sometimes. Lots of people who go on tea will be like, I don't cry anymore. Weird.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is something I don't
know what's up with that. It's weird. Which, like, if trans guys are noticing that, then, like, it's not, like, a, toxic masculinity thing because you already knew that you were a guy and then you're just like on tea. It's the tea that's doing it, if that makes sense. I mean, maybe that's hearsay and I'm like blowing that out of proportion, but that is what I've heard.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
She's very cool. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're gonna put a girl on the team, normally a team is gonna be like 4 guys and 1 girl, and the girl is not very cool. We got 2 guys and 1 girl, and she's incredibly cool.
This is not a 5-man band.
It could have been, though. It could have been.
This is not the 5-man band. It's the 3-man band, most of the time, at least. It's a 3-man band. Because 3 to a quest is the rule.
But that's, like...
I like that Rick was like, you know what? I'm only gonna have 3 main characters per quest because, like, that limits how many characters I need to think about.
I feel
like honestly,
I don't...
For a
I don't
writing
think
tactic.
I think it's more because he wants to specifically focus on certain relationships. Like,
well, that too. But it means he doesn't have to have, like, 10 people
that does
going
definitely
on a quest.
simplify
it means
things.
That he's, like specifically
writing
limiting
group
it.
situations is a nightmare. But it's not like...
3 is good. It's very good.
Clarice is in Sea of Monsters as a, like, primary character, and Grover is too, like...
Yeah.
It's not just the 3-man band, but I mean, it's definitely convenient.
It's like, it's very like, you know what, these are the 3 that, like, I'm gonna focus on here. Like, yes, there are other characters, they're also important, but, like, this is, like, the group that I'm gonna focus on their dynamic the most, at least. Yeah, so Tyson, my boy, my baby boy, my sweet baby boy. You're gonna cry again.
Oh my goodness. Okay, the optics, once again, little weird. Little,
optics? Like, optic, like optic nerve? Like eye?
I can't.
Anyway,
I can't
I'm sorry.
With you, Charlie. Okay.
He's a Cyclops, I had to.
So we are looking
There's a
at
lot going on
Tyson
with that.
as a metaphor for someone who has developmental disabilities. So
Yeah.
th-
Very
yes,
generic ones.
very generic.
Very generic, like, don't know.
It's a little uncomfortable to take that too literally, especially the way that people talk to him. Like, holy crap.
You know, I'm also thinking about the fact that, like, literally, as I kind of do, we kind of, well, I mean, he is a baby, but, like, we also kind of infantilize him, but he is a baby. Like, literally. That's the weird part about it, where it's like, he's representing a certain group, but also he literally
Okay,
is a
so if you think
baby.
about in the context of the narrative,
I can't talk about it too
Tyson
much.
is not at all disabled. He is a person who is perfectly natural for his own group. Like, he is a Cyclops who is, in fact, very young, but who is developing at a normal rate. But even as he matures, he is going to develop differently from how a human would. And so the way that he talks is always going to be a little different. The things that he prioritizes are always going to be a little different. Like, and so people are still going to treat him unkindly.
Yeah.
Which you
just a
can
lot
sort
going
of,
on there.
like, still relate to certain disabilities in our society that are not necessarily harmful to the person except for in a social context. Like, they make certain things more difficult that you are expected to do in our society. Anyways, I do love Tyson, like, a lot. When I was reading this, I was remembering
best
how they
boy.
massacred my boy in the film.
God, no.
I think I only watched Sea of Monsters once, and I'm like, oh no, why was it like that? Because I had forgotten mostly about it, but then when I was reading this, I was like, ooh.
God, that white
Oh,
man with
no.
the dreads. I can't. I can't. I just can't. But
He's very
Tyson
good.
is good.
And I like that, as uncomfortable as it is, the fact that we contend with Percy both defending and kind of disowning Tyson when he's first at the camp, that Percy doesn't want people to treat Tyson badly, but he has to, like, work through his own shame about the situation is very... I think that that's a very mature take. I do think that these books are emotionally educational if you're at that age.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when he thinks Tyson is dead...
I still think that...
Oh my god!
I still think Sea of Monsters might be my least favorite, just because of how Annabeth is to Tyson in most of the book. God, don't like that Cyclops racism. It's not my favorite
given how
thing.
monsters are typically treated throughout the series, it makes sense that would be her perspective.
But it's, like, specifically Cyclops that she's like, "Ugh, don't trust Cyclops." Like, but, like, trust him. Look into his big brown eye.
The experience that she had was literally nightmarish.
I know. The only time that I think Tyson is nightmarish is when he does that, like, his magical power of, like, making those voices of people in the other room because he can hear them. And
see,
it's
that-
like,
That does not bother
That's
me,
terrifying.
really. I just think that that's kind of cool. It is, like, a little spooky, but, like, it doesn't, like, hit for me. But, like, the Cyclops, like, taking Annabeth's dad's voice from her mind and saying, "I love you, stay here with me," is, like,
That is terrifying.
literally the stuff of
God.
nightmares. Annabeth's nightmares for the rest of her life.
I wonder if Tyson could do that if he tried really hard. My god, just think about, like, Tyson as, like, an adult Cyclops.
He's gonna get so big. You ever think about that?
Yeah, he is.
Okay, also,
Yeah.
Tyson is a monster. If he did die, wouldn't he just, like, come back eventually?
Yeah, but, like, he's also a young monster. He's not, like, super strong at this point, I would assume.
Oh, I see.
So maybe it would take
That
him
would be
a
so
little bit
sad.
longer.
Yeah, Percy might die
So, like-
before he got back.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, we want to keep Tyson around for as long as possible, and then maybe we could just, like, let him get slashed, and then he'd be like, oh, it's fine. I'm back in 2 seconds. It's fine, guys. Like, he could just reform, and it would be okay. I don't know. I don't want to think about that, but also... Hey, if Grover ever dies, he's just gonna turn into, like,
That's
a
messed
plant.
up, bro.
So, it is. My god. Imagine Percy being like, this plant, it used to be my best friend, Grover. My god.
You couldn't, like, put it in a pot or whatever. He wouldn't like that. You have to leave him planted out in the wilderness. You have to let him go. Oh man, okay. I don't even want to think about it anymore.
Wait, I'm thinking about it in, like, a different way now, and I'm just like, so then he gets reincarnated as a nymph.
I don't think that's how that works.
Am I correct? I feel like I'm correct here.
Satyrs and nymphs are just the same thing, and they just switch genders when they die.
This is canon, guys. This is totally canon. So does that... Okay, so then if a nymph dies...
Yeah, then they're just a satyr again.
Then they turn into a satyr again. I'm right. I'm totally right about this. You can't tell me otherwise. Oh my god. I was totally gonna do that discussion question thing. And now I like...
Well, we've already been here for an hour. I'm
like so surprised. Oh. I thought we've been here for like 20 minutes.
So book thoughts. I think it's really fun how if you actually knew the mythology beforehand, the book rewards you for that. Like if you know like certain epithets for certain gods, or if you're familiar with Greek terminology for something, like you're going to know what's up before other people do. That's fun. That's a cute little thing.
Yeah, but like, I mean, primarily, honestly, these books, they're all about teaching you the mythology.
Right, and so they're getting people into mythology. But I don't know, because it doesn't very often... Well, no, it's not that it doesn't very often go into, like, Greek stories, because it will. Like, there'll be, like, a little summary of something that happened and, like, how it's relevant to whatever's going on. But as often as that does happen, it doesn't happen. You know, they'll just, like, mention something in passing. And so, I don't know. I feel like it's good both ways. It's something... It's not gonna dwell on teaching the mythology too much, where people who already knew it would get bored. But it's also not focusing too much on you just knowing it. Like anything that you would need to know to get isn't relevant to the plot. So it's good for people who already like Greek mythology and for people who aren't really familiar with it. I think that the first time I read this book, I figured out that Percy was Poseidon's son, specifically Poseidon, and that was like the only thing that I would have known.
Well, you know, if you look at like a lot of the covers and like some of the like the symbols on it, I don't know. There's a lot going on.
Whatever, man. Whatever. On the book I was listening to an audiobook the first time, bro.
And also, like, he literally like grabs.
I'm saying that I knew who the water god was. I was very proud of myself. I was small. Leave me alone.
You know that there's like a million water gods.
Yeah, well, whatever.
In Greek mythology alone, and it's ridiculous.
Oh, I have a note about Mr. D here. Mr. D, like most mythological things, when he meets Percy, calls him Perseus Jackson without ever being introduced to him in that manner. Mr. D has an innate knowledge of what Percy's name is. He's getting it wrong on purpose every time.
Yeah, he is. And it's great. It's wonderful. I love it.
Speaking of Mr. D, that's my godly parent. What a piece of shit.
Yeah. Okay.
This camp is so fucked up. At least Chiron wants to be there and, like, cares about children. Once again, Chiron is the only good teacher. And even he is, like, way too cagey and, like, keeps saying, like, very bad things for these children's mental health. But...
My god. Why did Rick choose Dionysus to be the god?
Yeah, that is an interesting take.
Why?
I don't know. Like,
of all the gods, he's just the one that doesn't have a lot to do? Because he's just the drunk guy.
And maybe it is because, like, if you were a young person who, like, vaguely knew Greek mythology, you probably wouldn't be very familiar with Dionysus as opposed to, like, the big three as such. And so maybe it is because he's, like, an extra one. If that even makes sense. Okay. But actually, it's because he's bad at it. It's because he's someone who would be bad at it. And Rick's world is not a kind place.
You want someone who's not good at running a camp to be running the camp, because that's the only way that, like, it can work in a kid's book. Is someone who doesn't know what the fuck they're doing having that job. That's how it works in kid world.
The fact that in Sea of Monsters, the camp is left under Dionysus and fucking Tantalus.
Oh my god. The man who murdered his kid and, like fed him
Are
to
the gods okay with this? Are the gods are just like, yeah, that guy, he can watch our children. That's fine. Like, what the fuck? I do not understand. So,
like, the gods don't. Maybe, God, do the gods not feel threatened by this? Like, he could literally just murder their kids and eat them.
He would love to do that. He would love to.
He can't eat them.
That's why I'm saying.
That's right,
he would love to eat their children. He can't eat them, but he would, if he had the chance, like that. Like there is no possibility where he doesn't eat them if he gets the chance to.
I mean, maybe that's why he is allowed to be there, because Dionysus is like, you know that if you murder them, you're gonna get an even worse sentence than what you have now. So, like, you have to just, be with these children. And so he's in, like, even worse hell than he was, because not only can he not eat or drink anything, he's with a bunch of children. And he hates kids. Like...
Okay, so...
God. And, like...
So this camp is being run by Dionysus as a punishment for him. Because they know that he'll hate it. Like, that's also not a good look. Like, the gods are such bad parents. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they are. You know who I want running that camp? You know who I want? Like, I mean, Chiron needs to, like, teach them. But you know who needs to be, like, their den mother?
Yeah.
Hestia.
She'd do such a good job
running that fucking camp. She'd be like, this is your home.
Imagine how cozy it would be there.
You get a cookie. You all get cookies. It would be so nice and lovely. Hestia is my main fucking bitch. God, if she had kids, I would be her kid. I would, yeah. I would dump Hades in a second.
But, so Rick describes Dionysus as being like a middle-aged cherub, which,
that is such like a look.
And he looks like he's drunk, even though he's not allowed to drink currently. That's why Rick chose Dionysus for this specifically. It's because, one, that's something that Percy has experience with, and it's something that, like, if you're a kid who's been around adults with an alcohol problem, it's something that you understand. Like, the vibes there are also bad. But, like, I'm not saying that, like, Rick made a mistake there or whatever. I'm saying that, like, oh, man.
I have a problem with this characterization of Dionysus, but, like, I have a problem with how Rick modernizes a lot of the gods. Anyway, Dionysus is my non-binary wonderful king. Love them. Just literally one of the queerest fucking gods. And just chill vibes. Like, I'll fuck you over if you cross me, but, like, chill vibes, man. Like, it's all good. Like, fucking shit up in the woods.
And that is my preferred, like interpretation. But, like, I don't hate this interpretation. Like, at first, like, when I started reading it, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like that. But then I was like, you know what? Actually, this does make sense to me.
He looks like one of Gabe's buddies.
But in a way where he seems like he was pretty when he was younger. I don't mind that, personally.
I mean, maybe he looks like that to specifically get the kids off his back because he's around a bunch of kids that maybe won't respect him unless he looks like he's terrifying. Like looks like a gross older man who's like not gonna take your shit kind of thing. But like maybe he doesn't want to look like that. Maybe he's just like, yeah, guys, I don't want to wear pants. I just want to like chill in the woods and like get drunk, you know? Vibes, good vibes, man. I don't know. I don't like the bad vibes Dionysus. Why Diet Coke? Why was this the choice here? Why not just have him drink juice or something? Like, why can't he just drink some grape juice?
He's not allowed to touch the beautiful fruit of the vine.
I have questions about that. Like, you can't make alcohol so like juice. You don't have to ferment it. Like, just no alcohol allowed. God. He's just like, oh, I was gonna make a mimosa, but then I forgot. I literally can't put alcohol in it, so it's just orange juice. Like,
maybe he likes Coke. I
don't know. That'd be kind of funny to me. That'd be funny to me. Like, seriously. I do, however, like the vibe of him just like, yeah, I'm just wearing a leopard print shirt. Like, what of it? I do like that vibe. That is a good one.
I honestly like Mr. D. As much as, like, he should not be doing this, like, he's very bad at it. And they should not be making this his punishment. But, he gets a little more characterization in later books, so that'll be fun. But I like his role in the books. I think he's interesting to have here.
I want to know how good his relationship is with his sons that, like, literally
don't
live
they
there.
eat with him?
And
when they have meals?
Yeah. I want to know. I want to know if they're year-rounders.
Yeah. Like, that...
Like, I feel like we might get that answer later,
but... That is such a different experience that those two specifically are having from, like, everyone else in the camp, because that's their dad, and he's right there. They get to eat meals with him every day.
Sorry, Rick, give me a book about Pops and Castor. Give me a book about them and their relationship with their fucking dad, because they are so different from everyone else
don't
here.
Know if Dionysus is a good dad or not. Like, I'd assume probably not, given how everyone else is and how he is with every other kid. But maybe he's, like, good with them. I don't know.
Yeah. I want to know if Ariadne comes to visit him. Like, I know he did, like, he got this punishment because he was chased by an imp, but personally, I think they have an open relationship. 100%. But I hope his wife comes down and visits him because, come on, I love them. Sorry, I just have feelings about mythological characters sometimes.
I'm annoyed that all of the Olympians are, like, presumed monogamous. Like, jealousy is a huge part of all of the myths.
Yeah.
I just don't care about jealousy. Why can't they just, like, have an open relationship? I hope that that's the situation there with those two specifically.
Oh, just like, I don't know, from the Dionysus vibes specifically, even in these books.
Yeah,
but like also just mythology in general. Dionysus would be that guy who's like, yeah, like, I love you. I'm gonna marry you, but also, I think we should have an open relationship as well.
Yeah,
like,
100%, that makes definite
totally
sense.
Cool with that. He's
I know about his sex cult.
Like, literally, come on! How would Dionysus not have multiple partners? You can't tell me. But, like, yeah, I don't know. I have thoughts and feelings about Hera. I don't think
she hasn't even, like, shown up yet.
I will go
don't worry about it. We'll talk about it.
We have thoughts and feelings about Hera. The whole Ares Aphrodite Hephaestus thing has slightly come up.
Oh boy.
Because that's always a thing.
It's too bad that the gods are so stuck in their ways. They've been doing this bullshit for millennia.
Why haven't they moved past this?
Without fixing any of their problems.
Okay, so... Yeah, I've done some, like, research and heard some things as well lately that I didn't know before, that Hephaestus and Aphrodite at some point may have, like, actually divorced in the mythology. Like, that may have been a thing, and he has, like, a couple other named wives. at different points. So, like, Rick, you could have gone with, like, something like that instead of just having the whole jealousy thing again. Like, I don't know. Could have been interesting there. I mean, I don't think that Aphrodite and Ares would ever get married. I don't think that's the vibe that they have. I think they're good just being, like, you know,
yeah, I don't think that they
boyfriend.
like each other. I think that they like that they're both hot.
Yeah. Like, they might not even label it. They're just like,
yeah,
you wanna
exactly.
fuck sometime? Yeah, sure. You want to, like, look at each other in the mirror? Yeah, sure. You want to do both at the same time? Yeah, definitely. Like, 100% they fuck in a room full of mirrors. Like, are they looking at themselves? Are they looking at each other? Yes. The answer is yes. You're welcome. I'm painting pictures of people's sex lives for y'all.
More book thoughts. The actual cosmology here of this universe, don't think about it too hard. It's
literally Rick says that at some point. He's just like, oh yeah, like the metaphysical, we don't talk about that God. We don't talk about God.
But
with the big G.
But when people die,
that
they say that there was a like evil priest who's going through the fields of punishment, and they're like, oh, well, he's probably seeing something else that makes more sense to him. And so they're saying that the Greek stuff is what's actually going on, and that there isn't like a Christian heaven or hell. And also, Percy at one point calls the warding off evil symbol that they do more powerful than crossing yourself. Like, that it seems... I don't remember what the wording was.
I love that like makes Gabe hit, like, a car, basically. Like, he just, like, hits his head when Percy does that at him. It's great.
As much as they say that, like, capital G God, if there is a capital G God in this universe, I do not think it is the Christian God.
Okay, so, like, how this world... if you think too hard about, like, the afterlives and, like, all of Rick's connected worlds, I'm not gonna go into all of that, but my personal theory is probably that, like, the gods that we know exists, if you have a connection to them, you go to their underworld. Like, that's gonna be it. Whatever we don't know exists, I don't know about that, but, like, other than that, I'd say the gods, this is a Catholic guy. Where do we send him? We're gonna draw straws for that guy. Like, literally, I imagine the underworld gods of, like, the 3 pantheons we know about drawing straws, because that's all we know exists. We don't know if there's a Christian or Jewish, Muslim, just you know, the one G god. That's it. We don't know if that person exists. We don't know if there are other pantheons besides that, because, like...
Even with what we have, like, actively in front of us, so many things are simultaneously true that it's... Yeah, you just can't think about it too much. It's worse than...
Don't think about the creation of the world, because, like, if you think about that, I have thought about this, and it's just like, God... Just don't think about... Just don't think about it. I have no other words other than just, like, don't. Just don't even. They're all true. When all of mythologies are true, none of them are. I think that's what we need to take out of this and go to a different conversation. Do you have other thoughts
Sea of
here?
Monsters, Chiron describes demigods as the bridge between mortals and immortals. And I liked the way that was described a lot. Because as much as we don't deal with, like, regular humanity very much in these books, you can feel their presence and how important people are to these kids and how much they struggle between, like, this need for heroism and for recognition from the gods, and between this need to have a regular life with people who care about them, and the tension there, and, like, the inherent importance of mundanity. I don't know. I always like stories about that, like, there isn't anything cosmically important about, like, a regular person, but they are important just as they are. That's always something that I like hearing about in my stories.
I don't know, it just, how you're saying it gives me, like, Doctor Who vibes, where it's like, I've never met a person who wasn't important. That line,
Yeah.
it gets me.
Okay, that's everything that I had in my notes, unless
It's
you have
good
any more
shit.
questions. We could probably talk about more characters, but we've already been going for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I don't know. Just like the more I think about things, the more I'm just like, I feel like at some point I'm gonna need to talk to a restricted section about who's worse, Chiron or Dumbledore.
It's gotta be Dumbledore.
Just
like,
because
Chiron's
they're
doing
kinda-
his best. Dumbledore's a bitch.
I have thoughts about Chiron in later books and how
Okay.
little he just does.
I don't...
He's just like, yeah, I don't.
I think...
He just doesn't.
I think
do a
I
lot
remember
sometimes.
these two books the most well because they have the simplest quests in them. So I'm excited to get into the other ones because
They do.
there's a lot of things that I don't remember.
Yeah, I think Titan's Curse is where shit starts to get a little bit more real. So
Not that
I mean, like, it's
I
the middle book.
also like I would be remiss not to mention the way that Percy can always tell that something is wrong with the quest, but he can't do anything else besides what he's doing, that he's being, like, herded by his enemies into unwinnable situations where he's playing into their hands even when he makes a victory. Rick's also very good at cliffhangers. We get that at the end of Sea of Monsters. We're gonna get more, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Are you excited for Thalia? Is it Talia or Thalia? My audiobook guy kept saying Thalia, and I don't like it as much, but I would say it if we needed to.
Okay, so there are people who have strong feelings about this. So the way Rick says it is Thalia, and I believe that's also the more Greek way of saying is with like the TH sound too. There are people who are just like, no, it's Talia. The movies also say Talia, which in my perspective says, oh, that's probably wrong then. But yeah, I don't know. I've always said like Thalia or Thalia. That's how I go with it. But yeah, I heard recently that like it's more Greek because her name does come from Greek.
Oh boy.
As you'll find out. Guess what? Oh wait, I can't say I don't even think we know her last name yet. And like
that'll be
her
fun.
name kind of relates to her first name kind of relates to her last name in a way. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up now. So
I didn't even think about it.
No.
Busy. I was reading the books. I don't know, man. I've just been reading Good Omens fanfiction. Like,
do you want to plug a specific Good Omens fanfiction?
I'm good. I can only have so many interests at once.
Oh my goodness.
You go. Let me think.
All right. So like I said already in this episode that I've been binging a couple Percy Jackson podcasts just because I was like, we had a Percy Jackson drought. So I needed to listen to some pods to, like get back into the mood, the zone. And I binged all of the Seaweed Brain podcast, which can I find their podcast so I can just quote so their whole thesis statement is Persebeth the greatest love story ever told? And I don't know if I agree with ever told just because there's a lot of fucking love stories out there, but I do fucking love them, and they're, you know what, we're still on the build-up phase there, so we're still getting some build-up. I've definitely already mentioned that they're, like, a thing on this podcast. I don't think that's a spoiler. Come on, it's the main guy and the main gal. What did you think?
I mean, there's gonna be some...
Yes, there's gay
Well,
later.
no, I mean, in this series, we're gonna add at least one complication, so...
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, if you're like, they're not, like, you can't just have the straight couple. They're bisexual. They're bisexual. Anyway, I have thoughts and feelings. Right? Get me off of this train.
Anyways, okay, I'm gonna wreck a
Get
couple
me out
of
of here.
books. Jason Schreier, he's got a podcast.
Ooh.
Well, he's on the Triple Click podcast. It's a video game show. But what I'm actually recommending are his 2 books on, like, game development, Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, and Press Reset. If you like gaming.
That does sound like it's about gaming.
Blood, Sweat, and Pixels is specifically about the development of specific games and, like, how that journey went, and how sometimes things go off the rails, and how sometimes everything comes together perfectly, and how difficult it is to make video games happen, like at all. Press Reset is about developers who have their games canceled on them, or who have to start over, or, you know, like the complications that happen when you don't get like everything to come together perfectly so that your game comes out. That one was a harder read, honestly, but they both kind of get into like the behind the scenes challenges of making video games. And if you're interested in that kind of thing, I would definitely recommend those. I think that Blood, Sweat, and Pixels was like some of the first journalistic work that made people really concerned about crunch in gaming. And like what a terrible fucking issue that is. But let's not get into it. Anyways, that's my plug.
Well,
thank you. I am.
There was never a doubt in my mind. All right. Yeah, this was a freaking episode. I'm so glad you're finally caught up with the pod. And now we can get into freaking Titan's Curse. My god, I'm so like pumped. I'm so pumped for this.
As I was reading them, I was like, oh, I wish we were just having discussions. And now we're gonna do it. We're gonna have chapter by chapter discussions. It's gonna be so much fun.
We're gonna have discussions. It's gonna be great. I'm excited, man. I'm so excited. Well, get out of my fucking cabin so we can get onto this next freaking book! Yeah!
You can follow the podcast socials at Of the Eldest Gods Pod on Instagram and at Of the Eldest Gods on Twitter. You can send an Iris message to us through oftheeldestgodspod@gmail.com. If you'd like to support us financially, go to patreon.com/oftheeldestgods. By becoming a patron, you can join the Movie Night Crew Network server, where you get to chat with us and hear some no-context spoilers about episodes we are recording. I personally recommend the $5 tier, where you get access to Against All Odds, our bonus show where we talk about basically anything vaguely related to mythology, Perseus Jackson, or whatever we like. We also have a merch store on TeePublic, where all our designs are made by Charlie. Or if you cannot support us financially, please give us a review on iTunes and rate us on Spotify to help others know how much you love this podcast. You can follow me, Raye, at HeyHeyRaye on Twitter. I also have another podcast called Barbie Movie Slap, where my co-host Ted and I talk about the Barbie cinematic universe. You can check out that podcast Twitter at Barbie Slaps.
You can follow me, Charlie, at GreenPixie12 on most platforms, but on Twitter, I'm at GreenPixie123, which I'm totally not salty about. I also have an art Instagram that I sometimes use at GreenPixieDraws. I sometimes do the YouTube thing on my channel, Charlie Mack, that's MACK, and I also have another podcast on the network called Fandoms Gone Wrong, where my mom and I talk about movies, TV shows, books, whatever other fandoms we enjoy. You can find that on all the major podcasting apps. Our music was written by Isabel Strauss-Riggs and recorded and edited by Ian M. Riggs. You can find Izzy at Kane_I, that's I as in the body part, on Instagram and Twitter. She also currently makes video essays on the YouTube channel Kane I. Feel free to message her about making music for your project or editing your podcast. Of the Eldest Gods is proud to be part of the Movie Night Crew Network, which features great podcasts like The Restricted Section, a chapter-by-chapter Harry Potter pod with lots of spoilers all the time.
What's up, potheads? We're the Restricted Section, a raunchy, rowdy, rambling, unabashedly pro-trans rights Harry Potter book club podcast hosted by a bunch of nihilistic millennial assholes who are desperately clinging to childhood fantasy as a way to escape the monotony of our 9-to-5 work culture and the inevitable extinction of the human race at our own hands. Isn't it wild that this book series was spontaneously created by the gods and has no actual author? The Restricted Section features a bunch of nerds with potty mouths rereading the Harry Potter series for what has to be like the 3rd to 20th time, and discussing the way the story and its themes have stayed with each and every one of us into our adulthood. We would love for you to join us every Wednesday wherever pods are cast.
Of the Eldest Gods is based on the series by Rick Riordan. Right now we are discussing Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Remember to follow us on your favorite podcatcher and meet us back here every Thursday.
Oh my goodness. Only this episode and then we get to the actual book.
Right? Crazy. Can you imagine reading a book for a podcast?
Like chapter by chapter instead
Yeah,
of like
wild.
2 books in like a day.
I did it in like 4 days. Excuse you.
You know? Close enough. Sorry, I just got so distracted. The ice cream person, I can hear the music.
Oh, sorry.
I was just like, wait, what's that? Oh,
Go get some ice cream, Charlie.
nah, it's always crap ice cream.
What? How could you say that?
I'm not a fan of novelties. I'm just not a novelty ice cream person.
Tisk, tisk, tisk.
They always taste so crappy.
When I lived in Colorado, we would buy candy cigarettes from the ice cream person.
That movie sucked.
I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.